Yeah, all right, what problems has this lack of a winter caused? I mean, some people would say, we don't have to shovel snow. We don't have to buy jackets. Yeah. So, to those people, first of all, snow is beautiful. Second of all, you are completely ignoring the scientific facts of the problem of a lack of winter. We are already starting to see ticks because they aren't dying off due to the cold weather, and now they're tricked into thinking that we're later on into the season than we are. I mean, when you barely have winter, it can honestly feel like we were pretty much stuck in late November for a few months. So now they're thinking, well, all right, it's late March, and they're noticing how warm it's getting, and then they're coming out. Now, there is some good news coming. We have an Arctic front crossing through into Wednesday night. The only issue with that is it's not going to be very effective. Temperatures might drop into the upper 20s here in the New York metro area and might only struggle to rise into the mid 40s, but that's not midwinter like cold. It's not. It just isn't. It's not midwinter like cold when temperatures are in the mid 40s. I mean, it's kind of like midwinter like cold, but it's still, sad. It's not winter. Now, as you might recall, back in March, we were promised a cold and snowy March. Well, how did that turn out? Well, the snowy was good in anything north of, say, I-84. South of I-84, we've only had 2 snow openings, and they've probably produced less than an inch combined. But it depends on where you are. March 7th, after a mild afternoon with afternoon temperatures in the low 50s and early evening temperatures in the mid 40s, a volley of moisture came down, dropped the temperature straight on into like around 33 degrees, and actually produced a beautiful layer of snow. I made a video about that and it got 500 views. On March 14th, a nor'easter rode up the East Coast, and it delivered good snow to everywhere until you got to New York. This is why I'm convinced that there has been a bit of a snow hole around us, because honestly, the fact that no snow managed to seep through here is a bit sad. Central Park, only a trace, and even at Islip, the best you got out of any metro site, it was still barely over an inch of snow. Why? Because the snow didn't start until it was already daylight hours. It was wet, and it took so much for the snow to stick. And then it only had an hour to stick too, before, well, it got warm and it changed over to sleet, which melted all the snow immediately. And yeah, it was a bit of a rough one. Urban heat island has kept some of the snow away from New York City. I will say that in some of these latest snow episodes, the urban heat island is keeping them away. And what about the cold? It's been running about 2.5 degrees above normal, and a few below normal days really just can't make the cut. We aren't getting any serious cold, which we were promised. And if you remember last March 28th, it had a high of 33 degrees. That could have done the trick here if you had a persistent cold wave, but we aren't getting that. And I wanted to realize that, we aren't getting any of that. Now, this March might have actually felt a little bit chillier than average. First of all, with how warm and unsnowy that our last few Marches are, it's felt weird. It's felt very weird. Second of all, we have to understand that while there was a lack of really any serious warm temperatures, the mildest reading for the month at Central Park is probably going to be 63. We also haven't had any serious cold. Our coldest temperature in Central Park probably going to be 29. Now, this does vary throughout the island. I know that where I live, pretty much everywhere in the metro at this point has seen a temperature of 63, 62 for their highest. I know where I live, it has gone down to like 28, 27, I think. Islip's gone down to 24. But the general point is that we haven't seen very many cold temperatures. If you think about last March in Central Park, there was a high of 74 degrees, but the low got down to 21. So there was some serious cold going on and some serious warmth going on. Both of those things. ISEP could probably only manage to hit the low 60s or even upper 50s, maybe mid 60s, due to some wind off the water. I don't know how warm they got last March. I should actually go and check that. March temperatures this year have been extremely stagnant. Essentially, they aren't moving much. We saw, only one day with a high in the 30s, and even that they had a high of 38. A lot of low temperatures were in the 30s, but there wasn't that too much more to the story. Pretty much, March was a little bit cooler in the daytime highs, which made it feel deceptively cooler than it really was. First of all, we don't understand how at the start of March, highs in the upper 40s and lows in the highs in the even mid 40s and lows around 30 degrees are somewhat typical. They kind of average. So there's that, and the fact that we haven't really seen those warm March days yet. But it's not like we've seen any real cold March days. And that's been adding on to the problems that I've been having here. Alright, so how's April trending? It's trending to, unfortunately, be another above average month. I do think that April will finally bring on some of those 80-degree temperatures. I think that with this kind of an above average April, we had hope for a polar vortex to come directly over us on April 8th. Now it's looking unlikely, but we are still predicting some below average temperatures into next week. But honestly, that could just be highs around 50, lows around 37, which is definitely not winter. It's just in this annoying chilly range. I kind of hate it when the highs are just around 50. They make everything so annoying. Now, as far as, as far as May, how's May been trending? May's actually a bit of a split. We could see this kind of May where April is so warm and yet May really kind of struggles. That could happen. We could see a struggling May that is relatively close in temperature with April. We've seen that before, 2017 prime example, where after one of our warmest Aprils on record, May is not up to the challenge and is colder than average. How's our summer trending? It's going to be, at this point, we think a little bit cooler than average, but we don't know. What we have to understand is that there's an El Nino, which can actually bring on more warmth, but we don't know. I don't know. And remember, the summer can be dragged down by just a few annoying chilly days, which really screws everything over. And now I'm going to admit something to you. I thought that average winter and summer temperatures for our area were much more extreme than they really were. I was always under the impression that pretty much every summer day would always hit 90 degrees. I was kind of under that impression. That's not true, though. Not every summer day actually winds up hitting 90 degrees. It's just that they only talk about it when they do hit 90 degrees. When the summer highs are about 80 degrees, we don't really talk about them. So, there's that. Plus, with the sun beaming on you and with humidity, and in summer you really get both at once. In the late spring, it's really either one or the other. That also adds on to what you think it is. And in the winter, I always thought that the highs were always below freezing. I guess that's because of how harsh the 2013, 2014, and 2014, 2015 winters were, where, especially in 2014, 2015, we really did have this very long stretch where it was sub-freezing, but that doesn't mean that it always is. And I think I need to kind of understand that a little bit more.